Right, Tally-o there, champs. Now, yesterday I compared this laptop to the MacBook Pro 16 with the 32-core GPU, and people were losing their mind. But today, we're going to get the big boy in, all right? This one here, yes, i9 RTX 3080, 100 watts. It was a totally fair comparison. You might hear some fan noise here of the big boy. Oh yeah, that's real power, believe me. But these two laptops are both creator laptops. Very fair to compare them. Same genre, and they're both pretty much the same sort of size, weight, package, okay? Now, that this thermal throttles, that's not my problem, is it? I didn't make it. But today we're going to be comparing the big boy RTX 3080. So this is an RTX 3080, 165 watts. We'll be comparing these two, the same sort of benchmarks, the same as I done yesterday. And then we're going to unplug them and see what happens. Now, yesterday I was telling you the wattage from the wall from this, but today I'll be telling you the wattage from the wall from this. So this has an i7 11800H 165 watt RTX 3080. And of course, you know the specs of that, the 32 core B, 64 gigs RAM. Now this was using 100 watts, okay, from the wall yesterday. 100 it peaked at. We're going to see what this does. Let's run the benchmark and then we'll pull out the power and see what happens. Now you can hear the fans already, right? But actually this can actually game quite quietly. This is in its full performance mode, discrete mode, absolute full power. And thanks to the guys yesterday telling me that this was locked to SD 500 nits. I knew that this is locked to 500 nits for SD content. I didn't realize HDR was off, but we're going to leave it off because the same settings as yesterday, right? So let's do it and then let's unplug them. So I'll just show you the graphics settings first. There's the graphics settings, 1920 by 1200. It's exactly the same. Everything's the same. And then you can go to graphics. You can pause the screen there. People accusing me of all sorts of things yesterday. Clearly they weren't watching properly, but anyway, let's run this benchmark. I will start this one first, just quickly, and then we'll start this one. This does have a 500 nit display. It's really nice, 165 hertz. It's not glossy either. It's a matte coat there. But anyway, let's see what happens. Oh, by the way, this is the power brick. Look at that, straight away, 150 frames per second. That's a big difference, right? This is still 90, 170 frames per second. That's what the big boy does, all right? Now, this is the power supply for that. For the Mac, we have this. And by the way, I don't think my watt meter's working. I think it's broken. I can't even tell me how many watts are coming from the wall. It's telling me 1.3 watts. Obviously, it's using too much power. I know that it does use, it'll be using about 250 watts, okay? It's a 300 watt power supply. Be using somewhere in the region of 250 watts. So that's a bit unfortunate, but I'll see if I can reset it. No, not really. Must be drawing too much power, but look at that, okay? 165 frames versus 90. It's absolutely destroying here. This is what you would expect out of a big boy gaming laptop. It's a bit unfair to compare these, really. I mean, this is a gaming laptop, it's a content creation laptop. They're different sort of beasts there. But yeah, listen, the fans aren't that loud compared to yesterday, right? So 150 frames per second versus near enough 90 frames per second. Big difference, the 165 watts, and something that's not thermally constrained either, all right? So yeah, certainly in gaming, a big wattage RTX 3080 is just going to destroy all. I really love this laptop. This is really good. I actually wish that it had the display option that you have on this. I wish it had this display option. That'll be awesome because this is 1600p. I'd love the 4K. 190 frames per second versus 145. 160 frames per second there. Yeah, it's absolutely killing it. And look, the fans aren't that bad. In balance mode, you hardly hear the fans, really. It's just cruising. I mean, this is not even pulling the amount of wattage it can pull. It's in discrete mode, full power mode, everything, still doing 100 frames per second. Versus 80, we're going to put it on battery and do the same test again, of course. It's a really nice display, this, isn't it? Oh yeah, there you go, 100 FPS versus 80. I mean, this is going good for the amount of wattage. This is using over 200 watts, and this is, you know, using 100, so it's using much less power. This one is, I'm talking about, uses much less power. No fan noise at all virtually with this, and there's definitely fan noise here, but compared to yesterday's laptop, a lot less fan noise. And there, we're pushing there, 120 FPS versus 90. I gotta say, that's great performance considering the game is not optimized for this. All right, it's running in Rosetta, it's running in translation, and there we go. Wolf, 137 frames per second versus 92 frames per second. That's what you get with the big boy 165 watt, and yeah, that's just power. All right, now let's unplug them. This one's a bit hard to unplug, but unplug this. I've unplugged this. I will just go to the desktop, make sure it is in full power mode there. Full power, okay, getting there. That is on full power mode. It is in discrete mode. The same settings, of course. I'll just pump up the screen on this, and we'll run that test again on battery. So let's run it, and the same thing here, both on battery. We'll see what happens here. This is going to be very interesting because this is going to take a massive haircut, but will it be able to match it still? I doubt it. I think there's going to be a big difference on battery. All right, so the same, pretty much the same, right? On battery, pretty much the same, 93 frames per second. Why is this taking so long to load? I have no idea. I have no idea why this is taking so long to load. On battery, I guess. I have no idea. Let's just turn that sound down. Don't want a bit of copyright there. I might have to run this test to get... Oh, no, we got it. And there you go. 30 FPS. Pretty much locked at 30, I'd say. It's going up to 35. That's what happens when you're on battery. You can't hear the fans anymore. I mean, I don't have to go through this test. I'll show you at the end. On battery, they don't have the power, and this is in discrete mode too, so it's not using Optimus, but you can see it's pretty much locked at 30 FPS, which is, you know, common to happen with gaming laptops. Put it in its maximum power mode. I guess there's some registry hacks you can do and all this sort of thing, but this is performing exactly the same on battery. This one, big haircut, 30 FPS, pretty much locked there. So I'll just show you the scores at the end. We have 92, exactly the same. 92, we'll just wait for this to finish. I'll fast forward it. Now this is going to say 30 frames per second because it was pretty much locked there, but I do want to see how much battery drain we get. What's it saying there? 29 frames per second. All right, so let's go to the desktop. And this was 100% when I started the test. We have 92%, so it's lost 8% of its battery, and you saw there it was very low powered and it was sort of locked, right? And this one says 98% battery, and it was using pretty much 100 watts, okay? So this is probably using the same amount of power but only getting 30 FPS, and we've lost 9% of the battery, and this one's lost 2% of the battery. So there you have it. Catch you in the next one, guys. Tally ho.